Well, 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 if it isn't time for chapter 14 of The Girl Who Speaks Bear by Sophie Anderson, illustrated by Kathrin Honesta, published by Usborne. Thank you, Usborne. Well, in the last chapter, chapter 13, Yanka came to a house with chicken legs and was taken inside. What if her story ends there, being eaten by Yaga deep in the forest? What indeed? We better crack on and find out what happens in chapter 14, which is called Elena. The Yaga disappear indoors, and I push myself up to sitting. But a hot, sickening darkness rushes around me and I collapse back down. My face burns with frustration at not being strong enough to stand. "Come on, human girl, get up!" Mousetrap pushes the back of my neck like he could lift me himself. I manage to sit up again, but my legs won't work. "It's all right." Mousetrap stands on my shoulder, his teeth and claws poised for attack. "If you can't run away yet, I'll protect you until you can." And I remember how Mousetrap took on the wolf pack, and I can't help but smile. I exhale slowly and focus on trying to move my feet. A sharp cramp seizes one of them and I stifle a cry of pain. The porch balustrades curl around my back, helping to support me. One of the wooden spindles snaps free and reaches towards my hand before erupting with bright white blossoms. I blink at them in confusion. "Oh, the house likes you." Elena sweeps back through the doorway with a beaming smile, a bowl balanced on her head, and blankets on her arms, and a steaming tray in her hands. She unloads everything onto the porch and tucks fire-warmed blankets around my chest and legs. The cramp in my foot subsides. My body starts tingling back to life. I stare at Elena, unsure whether to be scared or grateful. She finishes fussing with the blankets, pours tea into a mug and passes it to me. I shake my head. The tea could be poisoned. Her friendly smile could be some sort of a trap. "What happened to your elk?" Elena asks, picking up the bowl and a small basket of mushrooms. She edges closer to Yuri, strokes his neck, places the basket under his nose. He munches the mushrooms before I could tell him not to. "Was it wolves?" Elena takes a cloth from the bowl. She washes Yuri's wounds. He stops whining. He becomes so calm. I wonder if Elena is using witchcraft on him. Lovely picture of Elena. Yuri there. And I can understand why Yanka would be scared and think maybe it was witchcraft, but she does look kind, and Yuri did need a feed. "She doesn't seem dangerous," Mousetrap whispers into my ear. "Maybe I was right to bring us here after all." The roof nods in agreement. "Your house," I say without thinking, then press my lips tight. I'm not sure I should talk to a Yaga. "Our house is special," Elena smiles. "I'm sorry if it scared you. It's young. It's still learning how to behave." She moves away from Yuri and sits on the porch steps closer to me. It annoys my mother because we're supposed to remain hidden in the forest, but the house is terrible at it. It's just far too friendly and curious. "Are you witches?" The question falls from my mouth before I can stop it. "No," Elena shakes her head. "No, well, not the sort you think we are, anyway. We won't eat you." She winks. "I promise." I glance towards the bone fence. "Oh, those bones, they're so old," Elena laughs. "They're just decorations we have passed down for generations. They beckon the dead." Beckon the dead? A chill runs through me. I wish I had accepted the mug of tea, if only to have something warm to hold on to. Elena glances at the door. Then she leans closer to me. "We guide the dead to the stars," she whispers, "but it's meant to be a secret, so don't tell my mother I told you." I nod slowly. I'm not sure what guiding the dead is exactly, but Elena has such an easy smile. I can't imagine it's anything bad. Music swells inside the house. The excited strumming of domras accompanies the rhythmic thumping of dancing feet. The bone fence rattles and the flaming skulls sway as the whole house heaves and bobs in time to the beat. A window slides open. I smell rich, creamy food that makes my stomach rumble. "Are you hungry?" Elena asks. I follow her gaze to the tray. As well as the tea, there's a bowl of mushroom stroganoff and a couple of fish rolls and a thick slice of rye bread. "I'll sample the foods." Mousetrap leaps off my shoulder and rushes to the edge of the tray. "Oh, a weasel! Is he your pet?" Elena breaks off a small piece of bread and puts it in front of him. "I'm nobody's pet." Mousetrap scowls. "He's so cute," Elena exclaims, clearly not understanding Mousetrap squeaks and squeals. Her finger hovers over his back like she wants to stroke him, but Mousetrap flashes his canines, steps over the bread, and pulls a fish roll from a plate. "The food is good," he mumbles. "You should eat." But I hesitate, still unsure whether we are safe. And then a dog bounds out of the door and skids to Elena's feet. "Wolf!" Yuri screams. "That's not a wolf, it's a dog." My jaw drops open. "That's one of Anatoly's dogs." "Nessa!" Instantly, I'm on guard. The Yaga must have eaten Anatoly because he never leaves his dogs. "What have you done with Anatoly?" I demand. "She hasn't done anything with Anatoly." Nessa rolls her eyes and rests her head in Elena's lap. "Elena and her mother are Anatoly's friends." "Do you know Anatoly?" Elena asks, ruffling Nessa's ears and leaning down to kiss her snout. "Yes, he's my—" Well, I search for the right word, but I can't find one. "How do you know him?" I turn the question around, still suspicious. "Anatoly never told me he has friends in the forest." "Oh, Anatoly and my mother have been friends for as long as I can remember. He often leaves his dogs with us when he goes exploring. He likes collecting stories for his bear child." Elena's eyes widen. "That's you, isn't it?" And she looks down at my feet and blushes. "Oh, I should have guessed. I was distracted by you falling and then the house moving and then your elk. You're Yanka." She beams. "I've always wanted to meet you. I've heard so much about you from Anatoly. You almost feel like family." I frown with annoyance. "Well, he never told me about you." "Oh, no, he's not allowed to. My mother made him promise. Yaga, the people who live in houses like ours, are very secretive because of the whole guiding the dead thing." Elena's eyes sparkle. "I bet he's told you a few tales, though." I nod, thinking of all the stories that Anatoly's told that mentioned a house with chicken legs. He said there was truth in them. "I'd love to hear one." Elena pours a fresh mug of tea and she offers it to me. "I could tell you which bits are true." This time I accept the tea. I take a sip and sigh as heat trickles into my body. "Well, there's the story of the bear saw and the Yaga." I glance up, wondering if Elena knows anything about humans turning into bears. "I haven't heard that one." Elena smiles and she leans back against the porch balustrades. Mousetrap finishes the fish roll he's been eating, wipes his whiskers and burps loudly. Nessa, Yuri, and the house's front windows all turn to me expectantly, and so I begin the story, as Anatoly would, with "Once upon a time." The bear saw and the Yaga. Once upon a time, the bear saw, king of the forest, found a crumbling castle hidden behind towering pines. Golden paint peeled from its onion-domed roof, and brambles crowded its great halls. The bear saw's fat, furry brow crumpled. The castle felt familiar, but he didn't understand why. He was old, and his memories had faded, so he lay down and rested his chin upon his paws and tried to remember. Images shimmered at the edges of his mind. Dancing with a lady, telling stories to a child. The bear saw felt that he had lived here once with a wife and a child, but he couldn't remember when, or where his family were now. The bear saw longed to know the truth, so he rose onto his huge paws and he set off to ask the help of the Yaga, who lived deep in the darkest part of the forest. A witch and a sage, the Yaga was said to hold all the wisdom of souls departed. "Don't go," cried the birds. "Baba Yaga has iron teeth that will crunch you up." "My hide is tougher than iron," laughed the bear saw. "She'll not crunch me up." "Don't go," wailed the tree spirits. "Baba Yaga's cooking pot can boil 10 bears." "I'm the bear saw, stronger than 20 bears. She'll not get me in her cooking pot." "Don't go," howled the wolves. "Baba Yaga will steal your soul and send it to another world." "I'm old," the bear saw sighed. "My soul is leaving this world soon enough anyway. I want to remember my life before I go." And he stopped before a fence of skulls and bones. Behind the fence, A wooden house rose up on chicken legs and turned to face the bear Tsar. Its windows blinked like eyes, and the door opened like a mouth, yawning, and out stepped a Yaga with bony legs and crooked teeth. "What do you want?" she snapped. "I have no time for bears." "Please, dear Yaga, help me to remember my life. I believe I had a wife and child once. I want to know what happened to them." The Yaga's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "If your soul is more than bear, I can help you remember." The gate in the fence creaked open, but the Yaga held up her hand. "My price is high. I deal in death and souls. If you enter this house, you won't come out." The bear Tsar looked back into the forest. He loved the whispering trees and the chattering animals, but he knew it was time to move on. He turned to the Yaga and nodded his great head. "I'm ready. All I want is to remember before I go." The porch floorboards creaked beneath the bear Tsar's weight. The door widened to let him through. Inside, the house was warm. A cooking pot, large enough to boil 10 bears, bubbled over the fire. "Sit." The Yaga pointed to a chair growing from the floor. It grew and grew until it was big enough to hold the bear Tsar, and he sat and rested his old bones. The Yaga brought him a bowl of kvass and a basket of berries, and he ate and drank until his belly was full. And then the Yaga played music on a 5-stringed guzli that sounded like rain chiming on a pebble-filled brook. Memories flooded the bear Tsar's mind, clear as the waters of the silver stream in summer. He saw a cabin near the forest. He smelled the sap of freshly chopped trees. He remembered he'd been a woodsman. He heard his wife singing and felt his child's soft cheek against his own, and remembered he'd been a father, full of warmth and joy. But then he saw the lime tree at the soul of the forest and remembered asking it for more, and his heart twisted with remorse for his greed, and he felt burning anger at being cursed to live as a bear. Tears filled his eyes as he watched his child fight the curse and leave to join the human world. He watched, helpless, as his wife's heart broke and she wandered to a high cave alone. The Yaga stopped playing and held the bear Tsar's paw. "I remember," the bear Tsar whispered. "I remember it all." His great body trembled with memories, bitter with loss and regret, but sweet with generosity and love. "Then it's time to go." The Yaga lifted the bear Tsar up, and he felt as light as a spring breeze. And he turned and he saw his great bare body lying still in the chair, and he looked down to see his calloused woodsman's hands, and his wedding band shone on his finger, and a bark bracelet woven by a child caressed his wrist. "What do you take with you to the stars?" asked the Yaga as she led him across the room to the large black gateway to the other world. "Memories of my wife and child." The bear Tsar smiled, stepped through the gate, and disappeared forever into twinkling darkness. Well, that's the end of chapter 14. What a strange ending it is, but there was the end of the bear Tsar. I'll leave that one with you, and I'll see you again soon for another chapter. But until then, you need to get on with your stuff, and I need to get on with mine. So look after each other, be kind, and see you soon.